Hey guys, welcome back to Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl, where we interview top-level MMA fighters and other experts in their field about love, dating, romance, and that all-too taboo subject, sex. I'm your host, Ashley, Rebel Girl, Evan Smith. Now let's talk about sex and violence. What's up, all my naughty listeners? We're back at Tomorrow Kids Studio. And last week, I got a lot of love for the weird random story that I told you guys. So I figured I would tell you another story. And this happened the past week. So my life is always interesting and sometimes embarrassing. So the boyfriend and I were going out to dinner because California just reopened as far as indoor dining and all that. And I was feeling like looking all girly, and I dressed up and I was wearing, I think it was like not a dress, but anyway, I had no pockets, and that's very relevant to the story. So keep that in mind. So anyway, the other part of the story that you need to know, which is kind of funny, is that there's an app called Ham Horn, and it's literally just an app that is a horn. And since you can't see it, I will play it for you. It's just got a giant button when you download it, and you press the button and you hear this. Well, let me turn it up a little bit. And he goes, okay, so you can tap it slow, or you can tap it fast. Okay. All right, that's the Ham Horn app. All right, back to the story. So I have this Ham Horn app because a few years ago I used to be, I guess, a guest on a podcast called The Donkey Show Podcast, RAP. And we would always just drink and talk about MMA and just play this sound randomly. So anyway, I forgot that I had this app on my phone, and I'm at the nice dinner, and so I go to the restroom and I'm like, oh shit, I have no pockets. So I stick my phone in between my armpit and my side, like kind of like in between my boobie and my arm, just to hold it, and I pull my pants down, and as I'm about to sit down, like literally right before my cheeks hit the seat, or the seat cover, you nasty bastards, it goes off, and it sounds like this. Full volume in the women's restroom, and I scared the shit out of myself, and not gonna lie, peed a little bit on myself, and you could hear the other ladies in the stall next to me like, oh Lord, oh God, and I'm like, oh my God. So yeah. All right. Back to the show, guys. So last week I asked you guys if you could do me a favor, if you are moved at all by this show, if you think I'm doing a great job, even if you think I'm doing a shitty job. I think every piece of criticism is constructive, and we're just trying to make a better show for you guys. Even if you guys have suggestions on guests, what you think we should do for the year anniversary that's coming up. We're on episode 46, and so I'm bad at math. 52. 52 yeah, 52 weeks. That's 52. So that'll be our year anniversary. You know, if you want to email me it's Ashley, ASHLEE, at sexandviolencepodcast.com. Any kind of input you guys have, that'd be awesome. We just want to, like I said, make the show a little bit better. Also, we are now on YouTube, so if you want to check us out there, the show notes will have the link. And then just a notice to all you guys who wanted to possibly be a Patreon member, we're going to put that on hold for now. So, stay tuned. We're going to be creating lots and lots of bonus content, but right now we want to focus on giving you the best free content. So we're going to just put that on pause for now. Okay, so tomorrow we're back to the UFC, and it's a good card, except, like always, we have some unfortunate last-minute changes, and it's the main event. Darren Till versus Marvin Vittori was supposed to be the main event at this UFC Vegas 23, but unfortunately Darren Till has a broken collarbone, so he's now out, and Kevin Holland is stepping in on, I think, 10 days short notice, which is pretty awesome. And I think he just fought less than a month ago. 3 weeks ago. Yeah, like 3 weeks ago. Thanks, DJ Zole. He had his first loss in, I think he was on a 5-fight winning streak before that. So, maybe this will be his chance to get back on track. Maybe it was a bad choice to take a short notice fight against a very high caliber athlete like Vittori. I do not know. We'll see. That's going to be super exciting. And the rest of the card's great too. We got Arnold Allen versus Sadiq Youssef, Smiling Sam Alvey, who was on the show, versus Julian Marquez. Go Sam. Nina Asernoff, she was on the show as well. She's a new mama. This is her first fight back after popping out a kid, versus Mackenzie Dern, also a mama. So that should be interesting. Mike Perry versus Daniel Rodriguez. D-Rod, hopefully he wins. And then the prelims, pretty good too. I'm personally invested in the Norma Dumont versus Bay Malecki. Maybe I'm a little bitter about that loss and I just want to see what happens. But, I hope she makes weight, like I said last week. And the Bay girl, I've heard really great things about her as well. So I'm interested in watching that fight. And this will also be the first time that the UFC has the new Venom UFC fight kits. So Venom is now taking over for Reebok. Reebok will be the shoe outfitter, I guess, but everything else will be Venom. Somebody leaked some photos. I saw them today. They're not bad, I don't know. I think they're the equivalent of what the Reebok outfit, the fight kits were. It's not anything too crazy. Like I said last week, I just don't want bedazzled, busy, kind of crazy, old school affliction type stuff. As long as it's nothing like that, I'm okay. And also April 24th, a big landmark time. What's a landmark? I don't know. A really big date coming up is April 24th. That's when the UFC will now be having crowds again. If everything goes as planned, knock on wood. And, oh, that does not sound like wood. That sounds like metal. What's going on with me? Currently, I'm in Florida on a beach somewhere. Kinda. I'm recording this episode early, so when you hear this episode, I will be on a beach somewhere in Miami, enjoying the weather, hopefully staying away from the bajillion spring breakers that are out there, and doing the Craig Jones seminar, as well as the boyfriend will be teaching a seminar on one of those days. So it's like a work vacation trip, much needed. And A Botanical Bloom still doesn't have a sunscreen. Come on, guys. But I will be packing all my other goodies. They have lots of things. They have a cucumber melon scented hand sanitizer. It's my favorite product by far. We are still in the pandemic, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And, I'm going out to Florida, so I sound like a hypocrite, but I'm going to take my hand sanitizer with me and spray my hands every time I go somewhere. A Botanical Bloom has lots of goodies. They also are always made from real CBD, not hemp seed oil, and all of their products are lab tested, and they provide a QR code on the box so that you can scan it and track the results. In addition to hand sanitizer, they got lip balms, chapstick, vapor rubs, tinctures, gummies, and those gummies, they are very strong. They have double the dosage of your normal CBD gummy. So go follow them at A Botanical Bloom on Facebook and Instagram, or check out their website, www.abotanicalbloom.com. Don't forget to use code AshleyMMA and you get 20% off on all products. Today's guests are sports journalists who found love amid the traveling, interviewing, and reporting. Dave Schmulenson, co-host of the Schmozone, created the Schmo as a fresh perspective and a new alternative to what is occurring in sports today, a term he coined as sports comedy. Helen Yee, the other half of the Schmozone podcast, is a Las Vegas native, a bilingual Mandarin reporter, a former two-time state champion and nationally ranked swimmer. Yee is also the producer, host, and creator of Eyes on the Game. She's worked for Las Vegas Sports Network, an affiliate of ESPN, and Fox Sports, as well as Top Rank Boxing on ESPN, and many more. We talk about traveling the world as a couple, discovering porn at age 6, Olympic swim team training, sex in an abandoned storage room, Fuck, Marry, Kill, Couples Edition, and so much more. Here are your guests, Helen Yee and the Schmo. All right, we have Dave Schmulenson and Helen Yee with us. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Now you see, Ashley, why Schmo is easier to say than Schmulenson.
Yeah, I mean, is that why you are the Schmo instead of Dave Schmulenson?
I can't say that's the biggest reason why, but that certainly contributes to it. It's easier. It rolls off the tongue better. And, it works.
Well, let's get right into it. I'm going to ask you about all your love life later, but let's talk about what you guys do and reporting, all the journalism, the traveling, the video. Dave, let's talk to you first. Okay, the Schmo. It's sports comedy, a coin you have term you have coined. Sorry. Where did the idea of the Schmo come from? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I've always been a goofy, weird guy growing up who just loves sports, and I grew up outside of Chicago, so I really appreciate the Chicago Second City legends, the John Belushis, the Chris Farleys, the Mike Myers,
Yeah.
and Harry Carey. He was a legendary broadcaster with huge glasses. So I love comedy and I love sports, and I put those two together because trying to work in corporate America and grind my way in the traditional way as a sports broadcaster, I ran into a lot of different issues, a lot of red tape, a lot of corporate politics, and I saw where the digital world was turning, and I figured I could do it better myself if no one was going to give me a chance. So I created the character to honor those legends of the past and have a modern digital twist, and to really draw the personalities out of the athletes and the people that I interact with. So that's kind of how that was birthed.
That's awesome. How long have you been reporting? When did you get into sports journalism?
So I got into sports journalism when I was in college at the University of Arizona. I covered our basketball and our football team. I graduated in 2012 from University of Arizona in Tucson. So I was doing it back in around 2011 and 2012 and tried the traditional route. I graduated college, interned at Comcast Sportsnet Chicago. At the time, I pretty much paid to intern because I wasn't getting paid, and I had to pay to park downtown. And I picked up 2 degrees in personal training to pay the bills, and I just grinded my way and found my way out west in California, and kind of just worked in sports production and made connections, and found my way to becoming the Schmo at my last job in corporate America while I was at USA Today Sports.
And now you're just a one-man show. You go on the road as the Schmo and not Dave. Are you working for any networks, or is it just independently?
It's just Helen and I. We kind of, obviously we're dating, and that's what we're going to get into as well. But we've joined forces. It's a two-man woman / man woman team here, and we write, produce, we edit, we book the talent, we film for each other, and we wear a lot of different hats. And it's like we both run our own little individual production companies that we help each other with.
That's awesome. Helen, I know you have been doing this for a while as well. Let us in on some of your background. How'd you get involved, and where'd this love of sports journalism come from?
Yeah, so I was a swimmer basically my entire childhood. I was a competitive swimmer and athlete, and a lot of my former rivals, I guess, in swimming or training partners, a lot of them are now like pro swimmers or current Olympians. So, my love for sports started off when I was an athlete, basically when I was very young, and I love watching sports with my dad whenever I wasn't training and swimming. And I was always very shy growing up. I hated talking to people. It was my biggest fear in life. I wish I was invisible in class and that no one could see me. And the only thing, if I were to talk and felt comfortable talking about were sports. And that was the only thing that truly made me happy. So long story short, my swim career came to a sudden halt for reasons kind of unknown. But for years, I kind of lost my identity because I grew up just, thinking one day I want to be an Olympian, I want to be a pro swimmer, and swim in college, go to USC, and that's what my focus was my entire childhood. So when my dream was cut short, I didn't know who I was anymore because I identified just, being a swimmer my entire life.
Hmm.
And I hated being shy. So I created my own sports radio show when I was 22 years old because this podcast asked me if I wanted to be part of their show with 2 other women, but I told them I would only do it if I could talk about sports because I didn't want to talk about anything else. And I wanted to challenge myself because of how much I hated talking to people. And basically he said I was not good, like I sucked at what I did, and that lit a fire under my ass. So I created my own sports radio show, And in the beginning, kind of like what David said, I mean, I was working a full-time job, had to save up and pay my own on-air time, my own broadcasting time. But yeah, so just been doing it ever since, because for my love of sports and my hate for speaking to people.
Well, that's amazing. Not a lot of people can conquer their fears and reinvent themselves, all because, they just want to change something about themselves. Dave, I think that you kind of did a similar thing by, you created this character. You saw that you needed to maybe set yourself apart. And so you invented this character, and, you guys are now working together, which is amazing. And have you worked for any other promotions together, or is it just ever since you guys met, has it just been Helen and Schmo?
Yeah, so the promotion we kind of do together now and created is the Schmozone Podcast, where we co-host it together. And we started it last February, a month before the pandemic hit, which was a blessing in disguise, because that was our saving grace of the pandemic. But it also gives us a platform where we can be ourselves. So I'm not the Schmo most of the time on the podcast. I could be myself, and we talk about the behind the scenes of our lives and of the grind in production and how we make it work together, and just navigating through, like I mentioned before, the red tape, because there's a lot of it in this industry.
Yeah. Is that a weekly podcast you guys do?
Yes, it's a weekly podcast. We put out an episode every Tuesday. We'll have one out in a little bit, a few hours from now, but this is actually, we took about a week and a half off because we're currently building a new podcast studio right now. So going to be better than ever. And it's just a grind putting it all together.
How do you guys
balancing with everything?
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but balancing, I mean, I was just going to ask, you guys travel and do all this reporting, but how do you stay consistent with the podcast?
Yeah, it's pretty much, it's a mental thing. It's something that we add to our schedule. We know we have to do, and we just grind, and we find a way to come across, what's trending, what's relevant to what we're talking about, and we find the right guest for that. And we're only 60 episodes in, so we're still fairly new to it, and we enjoy learning as we go.
Well, we're over here at 46 or 47, so you guys are ahead of us for sure, and I'll definitely be checking it out. So you guys talk about all sports, or do you focus on one in particular?
We definitely focus on MMA, because that's where our largest audience is. But we've crossed over. We've done boxing. We've had NFL talent on there as well. Once the Raiders open more back up, because we're based in Vegas, we'll kind of focus more on NFL and have a lot of Raiders and football players walking through as well. But we definitely, I would say, during this pandemic, have focused on MMA because, look, Dana White was the first one to bring sports back, and
Yeah.
they have it back consistently. So it always gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
And we did launch it during Super Bowl weekend.
Yes. And we did launch it
2020.
2020. We launched it in Miami during the Super Bowl weekend. So.
Yeah, it does seem like the pandemic has been uniquely successful for you guys. I knew you, I guess, has it been a year, 2 years? I don't know how long we've known each other individually. And we had this talk the other day. You guys were, when I met each of you individually, you were kind of both just starting out. But now I kind of scroll through your Instagram and see some of your articles and videos, and you're hobnobbing with Dana White. You're just got these high level, athletes on all the time. What was the change besides, everything shutting down? Like, what was the root of all your success this past year?
Well, I would say the biggest turning point for my career in particular was asking Dana the 165-pound weight division question at the seasonal press conference in Atlanta for UFC 236. It was the first time where a lot of different people, and Ashley, you knew me as I was grinding. I was doing the same shtick.
Mm-hmm.
I was hustling just as hard, and just people weren't aware of what I was doing. That changed when I finally asked my first question at the press conference, got the last question in. Dana finally saw who I was, and it started sticking, and people started understanding where I was coming from. But what I would say is, with the pandemic and why we've had so much success, is we just weren't afraid to adapt. If you don't adapt, you die.
Mm-hmm.
We were willing to change up what we do. We definitely did some more digital stuff, but we're risk taking. Obviously we're cautious, but we've been going to nearly every single UFC event, and still giving the fighters a platform, another outlet. But the thing that what Helen and I credit ourselves on the most is what we do is we want to make the athlete or the person we're interviewing feel good. We want them to see their personalities. We want their personalities to shine. We're not going to give the same generic, boring questions. Oh, you won this fight, you lost this fight, how does it feel? The same standard 6 to 10 questions you get. Sure, we'll sprinkle that in, or that's relevant news, but we're also going to do whatever we can to showcase their personalities. And I think during this time, and especially during the pandemic, when people want to turn to sports as an escape, not talk about politics or any of the BS that's going on, I feel like they can tune into our content to get that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel aligned with you guys in that sense. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to give the athletes that I have on, sometimes we have other experts on, not just athletes, people like you, a platform to talk about things that are not the norm, right? But you guys talk about things, that are sports related, but you kind of try to tweak it and make it unique. We're over here asking fighters about their sex life, or people like you about how'd you guys meet. Speaking of that, let's dive right in. You guys are dating. I want to know all the cutesy details. How'd you guys meet? How long have you guys been dating?
Who's answering that question?
We're looking at each other like, who wants to answer it? Because, well, here's the thing. Like, we kind of started. Should I tell her about when my transmission broke down?
That's when.
Well, that was like right before.
Right before.
Yeah.
Okay, but I would say, like, we definitely started paying attention to each other. And it was it was in California in December of 2018.
Oh, wow.
December 2018. It was when the John Jones fight against Gustafsson, the second one, got moved from Vegas to Inglewood last second at the Forum.
I remember
so
that.
That's when we started.
Ashley, you know what's crazy? Oh my gosh, I just thought of it too. Because during that fight, remember I was trying to interview you and then my car broke down?
I don't know if I remember that.
I don't know if you remember, but I remember it.
Yes, because I do remember that, because you never...
It was in the morning.
You never flake. You're always punctual, and then you're like, I'm so sorry. And I do remember that. Wow. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, the reason I bring this up, because it ties into like how David and I met. Like, I don't know why it just vividly like popped in my mind. So yeah, I wanted to interview you, and I was actually driving to go interview you. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what was going on with my car. I mean, and I still drive it now because I unfortunately got a new transmission like put in it. So during that drive, I just felt like when I was accelerating or hitting the gas pedal, my car was getting slower. So I was like, I need to pull off to the side. Like, my car, something's wrong with it. It's about to stop. And then thankfully I pulled off because I was driving on the freeway, actually heading to meet you. And then I pull off to the side and my car just like stops. Literally, like, it won't turn on or anything. And I'm like, crap, like, I feel so bad. Like, I need, I don't ever want to like flake, and I've never done that. So I was like, I feel terrible. So my car, that entire trip, and I was covering boxing and the UFC, it wasn't working. So I was like, what do I do? So I had to take it to the shop and then try to Uber to get everywhere. And so during the press conference day, it was a press conference, right, David? Where I'm like running late and I'm just so exhausted because like I drove there myself. Like, so I was a one-woman band at the time, and I was so stressed out. So I get to the press conference a bit late, and then I look at David, and I've never seen him before. So sorry, David, I've never seen you before. But so then, I was like, oh, this guy looks harmless. Like, okay, whatever. And I'm just stressed thinking like, oh my gosh, new transmission. It's going to cost me like an arm and a leg. Like this is not ideal. And so I sit next to David, and I remember telling him about my car and what was going on. And then, but, I just like felt comfortable talking to him. But we didn't really like do anything that trip. It was just me kind of telling you what was going on because you at the time didn't want to give me a lift. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I mean, at that time I was dealing with so many issues. I was living on my brother's couch, and I was going through so many struggles on my end. And part of the deal with living with my brother was helping me out because I was really struggling back just even a few years ago before things started taking off for me. I was watching his dog. So I was on dog walking schedule, and I couldn't really do anything because it was the only promise I had from my brother. He'll take care of the rent. I just need to take care of his dog. It's like a child to him. So I took care of his dog, and that's kind of what limited me. But then a month later, when we really started meeting, we were back in LA, the same forum actually in January for a Bellator fight card. And I decided to meet her out with her friends for drinks. And was it Glendale or Burbank? I think we're in Burbank. We went out for drinks, and we met, and I was very polite like I normally would be. And Helen sent me a text, "You don't have to be afraid of me." And the rest is history, because then, I knew that the gloves were off, that I could, for once, pursue someone, and I never had to this day and age. I live by the saying, you can't shit where you eat. Well, Helen was the exception to that rule, and she became the first girl I ever dated in this industry.
And we've been inseparable ever since. And from that press conference till that Bellator fight, we did see each other, I think, at the Manny Pacquiao at that boxing event. So we would text here and there. And then and Manny Pacquiao's open workout. And then Anderson Silva had a media workout too. And I remember David just wanted, a quick interview with Anderson Silva. And again, I was still a one-woman band. So he was like, all I need is 90 seconds, please, just to interview Anderson. So I'm thinking in my mind, it gives me 90 more seconds to set up my camera and all this stuff. So I said yes. But that was basically after my car incident to in between the Bellator incident. But ever since, we hung out at Bellator or after, for drinks. We've literally been inseparable ever since. And it's been the easiest relationship and easiest friendship, just easiest thing I've ever been in. I never had to think twice about how to act. And I am kind of weird too. And David sees everything and accepts me.
I know you guys are always traveling and at these press conferences and whatnot, but what about a real date? Do you guys remember having your first real date?
Yeah, and actually, we try when we're traveling to these cities. We know we're working most of the time. We try to have a date night. We try to okay, set this aside, put the phones away. This is going to be the date night, and that's the beauty behind it too. It's there's no other person I'd rather share these memories with. We've been already to Melbourne, Australia. We've been to Tokyo, Japan. We've been to Europe. We've obviously been all over the United States, and we Fight Island. We get to share these memories together. We're quarantined together. So there's never I don't get to see you. I don't know what you're thinking. Helen and I know each other on such a personal level that I feel it's expedited a lot of things that most relationships, it takes naturally a lot of time to develop, just because of a situation of the pandemic and the situation, the nature of our jobs together.
And I also think it helps the fact that because we're in this rare situation that we work together, we both understand what each other does, so it's we understand what we both have to go through because of what we both have had to endure, even before we met. So even when David said, there's no one else he'd rather share these memories with. Like, I obviously share the same sentiments, but it's really nice when he understands too. So it's like these moments, like, if you try to say to anybody else or someone who, for example, if they're not a fan of sports or this or that, like, they wouldn't really understand.
So, and just to summarize, we both have been in relationships where our significant others can't understand how important this is to us. Like, we're both workaholics. Helen and I are always thinking work mode, work mode, work mode. And we call it work mode, and we call it relaxing, downtime, free time, me time. But we're always in work mode. So when the other one's in work mode, we'll never be upset at that other person because we know exactly where that person's coming from. And I know, and Helen can second this, and all of my previous relationships, that's always been the line. That's always seems to get crossed. Is like, I love what I do, and I love the path of creating content and talking sports for a living. And it's just been hard to find someone until I met Helen that fully understands that.
Yeah, I think that everyone has that whole don't shit where you eat type of mentality, right? Until you meet someone in the industry that's just fucking amazing and you're like, I don't give a fuck what the cliche term is. This person is worth it, right? And that seems like what you found with Helen. And I have fighters and actors and comedians on here all the time, and one thing that's similar across the board is you want someone to share your passion with, which means usually dating in the industry, right?
Yep.
And so it's, whether you're a fighter or a journalist, there's nothing like not having to explain what you're going through or have the person just know because they've gone through it. They've cut weight or they've, traveled a million places to get to a press conference and then missed the press conference because this thing didn't work out. And so I can only imagine that you two just get each other on a level like no one else ever has.
For sure.
Well, that's awesome. I want to dive into a little more risque topics now. It is called Sex and Violence. So I know, Helen, you are the more introvert, so you might be a little shy. But how did you guys learn about the birds and the bees growing up?
David, I'll let you go first.
So one of my best friends growing up, he had this older sister that she was probably a teenager by the time we were 6 or 7. We'd always go in his basement and we watch everything from like Chucky, from thrasher movies to Scream to everything, and like R-rated movies, X-rated movies. So I was probably 6 or 7 when I came across like my first porno type of scene.
6 or 7?
Oh, for sure. I got exposed at a young age. I grew up in a cul-de-sac where all of us guys.
Your parents?
Well, my parents were at home or working, but we're all similar age. We all had older siblings that were similar age. We always do stuff. We always go fishing at the pond or explore at the park or rollerblade places and stuff like that. But I just remember being in my buddy's basement and this type of content was on, and it was the first time I realized, okay, yeah, this is what the dick is for, and this is where it goes. And when I'm ready, sooner than later, I'll know what to do. So I just got exposed to it, thrown in the fire at a young age.
No, that's not so abnormal, Helen. I hear you kind of going 6, but I guess my boyfriend was up at night watching HBO, like the sexy channel on HBO when he was really young too. And I was like, what? That's crazy. But then the more I hear, it's like, I feel like boys get subjected to porn and, like sexual, like kind of visual, whether it's a movie or whatnot at an earlier age than girls do.
Yeah, a Real Sex on HBO. I remember watching that when I was 12.
Yeah,
They showed you Real Sex?
It was called Real Sex. It was they more talked about it than showed it, but they definitely showed like nudity and stuff of that nature and like sex seminars. They had all that discussion.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but that's exactly the show that my boyfriend was watching when he was young too. So what about you, Helen?
Well, I don't know if my story can top David, but well, I am born and raised here in Las Vegas, but growing up, I was in a very sheltered household. And even earlier when I mentioned like why I quit swimming, I mean, there was no real reason why, but my parents like to shelter us. So anything which revolve like sex or anything to that nature, my mom would like freak out, like, what, no, don't listen. Like, she would really freak out. So it was, I guess, kind of taboo or whatever, just something like my parents would like not talk to us about. And this is growing up. I mean, obviously now it's different because I'm almost 30, but at the time it was just nothing. Like, they would even like magazine covers just like try to not have us like know or understand, just try to be, you know, kind of oblivious to it. But just growing up in Las Vegas and seeing all these like, you know, strip clubs and even the billboards, right? Like, I remember I was probably, I don't know, 9, 10 years old, and you look at these women on the billboards and they're just, you know, it's like a very busty woman. And I mean, they're just selling sex all over the city. So of course, you know, I'm thinking like, what the hell? Like, okay. But my parents would never talk about it or want to or anything. But I mean, I guess this city has exposed me to it. But aside from that, I mean, my sister, you know, there would be maybe sometimes she would like talk about it, like if I got, you know, a bit older. But yeah, I mean, I guess that was my first real exposure to it.
Yeah, yes. Las Vegas is, you know, just Sin City, right? It's just how can you not figure out what sex is at an earlier age? I don't know how old you were, but yeah, Sin City. I can't even imagine
I
growing.
was not 6. I was not 6 or 7 like David, but I understand why parents would not want to raise their kids in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys live in Las Vegas now. So, you know, sexy stuff aside, when you guys aren't traveling around and you know, reporting and doing your career stuff, what do you guys like to do together?
Ooh, hike. We
Well,
just hiked Zion.
yeah,
Angels Landing.
I love to go on different hiking trails. We just came from Zion. We just did Angel's Landing, which for any hiking enthusiast, I highly recommend it. It's really fun and exhilarating. You take chains to climb up the last half mile that are bolted in there, and don't look down if you're afraid of heights. So that's fun. We like to hike. Obviously, traveling is a huge passion, so we get to blend passion and pleasure with the travel and seeing new different cities. And I got Helen enjoying working out, so I got her enjoying the workout. So
that is David's hobby, believe it or not.
I like to sweat every single day. It's like my thing. So I just like being outdoors.
We love to eat.
We love to eat and try new foods.
That's awesome.
So especially when it comes to like I'm an ice cream. That's like ice cream and popcorn are my two biggest vices when it comes to food. So always try a different gelato, custard, or ice cream spot.
But we love working.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys workaholics. You mentioned hiking, and my mind is perverted because I've been having sex talks with people for almost a year now, every week. And our last guest had sex while she was on a hike. That was Brooklyn Wren. That was her craziest spot. Where's somewhere crazy? Have you guys ever had a crazy sexual adventure together?
We did. We were thinking about that the other day. Where's been the craziest spot? And this is a great podcast to reveal that. we were in New York City, and you know how busy and dirty New York is, especially before the pandemic. I have a friend that lives in a nicer apartment complex, but we're staying with him for one of the nights. We didn't have a hotel room, and we're not going to have sex on his couch, so we're going to respect him and all that kind of stuff. So there was in the bottom floor of this apartment complex, there was like, because it's New York, these buildings are old. I went through this pathway. We went through this pathway where there was construction. Could have been a former apartment unit. Could be storage now. It looks like it used to be like it's obviously vacant, but they're using it for storage, apartment building or whatever. We walked through it, kind of scandalous, but I would say it was in this dirty closet / storage room on the first floor of this apartment building. And I'm sure, it's just, I don't know. As a kid, I liked hot lava and hide and seek and secret places, and I feel like this would have been a top-notch hide and seek type place. So it was like an abandoned area on the first level of this apartment building. That's the best way to describe it.
Oh, I like it. Okay, that sounds fun. So, Dave, you're a little bit more extrovert, Helen, a little bit more introvert. If I had to guess, I would guess that Dave is the more randy, the more horny of the two. But who usually initiates?
I'll let David answer this.
Well, Helen is one of those quiet, horny type people.
The quiet,
I would
horny
say,
types.
like, yeah. So, I'll give Helen her credit. There's plenty of times where she initiates, but she's the type where she'll initiate, and then it's up to me to pick up the slack and then to take over as the aggressor and go from there. So it's like she's like the seed planter and I'm the executor. I would say for a lot of different ways. I think that's a good way to describe it.
I think that's smart
but there's-
because, sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, no, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I feel like the reason that is maybe not with your situation, but if I had to generalize, I feel like men are horny 110% of the time, and women, we have our moments of excitement where we want to get it on, right? So it's like the guy's just kind of always like, "Tell me when, I'm ready. Tell me when," and the girl's like, as soon as we show any kind of sign of intimacy, the guy's like, "All right, it's on."
Exactly.
Yeah. The funny thing is, and I'll give Helen her credit, she is never shy about when she wants it.
Yeah, okay. So, Helen, I feel like you have this job that you're in front of the camera, you're talking to so many people, and you still feel shy, huh?
You know, yeah. I mean, well, that's why when I said earlier how like David, like he sees everything, so he definitely sees my non-shyness, and also that's how I knew, like, and I'm sure a lot of people always wonder, oh, why does like she like the Schmo or like David? Because I can be 1,000,000% myself. Like he's seen every part of me, and he sees where I'm definitely like not shy, but yeah. In general, I think it's just I don't know who I am.
What's I mean, are you surprised by that, Dave? I know that, you probably assumed that dating a fellow journalist would have some perks. But what are some things that you two kind of are surprised to find out about each other or about your relationship?
Yeah, no, I analyze everything, and I guess a lot of things make more sense by the way she was raised. She has an older brother and an older sister and a younger brother, so she's sandwiched somewhere in between. Her older sister is that much more outgoing personality than
Like,
Helen.
you want sex talk? Yeah, sure.
And she'll be perverted. She'll ask about her sex life and stuff like that, and Helen will get all red. And
Oh.
I'm an open book. Like I'm not shy, reserved. We're humans. We live one life.
Mhm.
We all have sex to procreate and to enjoy for pleasure and whatnot. So we're all trying to get through this thing out of life as much as we can because we're all going to die one day. So that's just my mindset with it and everything. So with Helen, yeah, I mean, I think initially I was definitely as surprised that she was as reserved as she is. Like, but the way she is reserved in public is different than behind the scenes with me because she's not nearly what people think she is in public. If they think she's reserved or not like that because she's not reserved or shy around me. It's just totally understanding her temperament. And that's why we get along so well because I feel like if we are both the same personality and we're both I want this and outgoing and so much at the same time, we would clash.
Mhm.
But I feel like we fit together well because there's a balance.
Yeah, I agree. And, people always say like opposites attract. Yeah, I feel like it just kind of depends on the people because I feel like you have to have a little bit of similarities, but also enough to kind of, relate to each other and even each other out, right? Me and my partner, we have kind of like that time bomb factor, kind of like a little bit of a temper, but I think it works because we both have that in ourselves. So when the other person starts to get a little, upset, we can recognize that right away. And we're like, all right, I would probably get upset in that situation too. So we're a little bit more understanding.
for sure. Like at the beginning of our relationship, she hated the fact I like to get stoned. And then she realized that I have such a temper and I'm a type A personality where when I get stoned, it makes me a type B. It makes me chilled or makes me relaxed. So then now we're at the day and age, she knows where I get upset about something because we're always in high stressful situations, like go take an edible, go smoke a joint, so she gets it.
And I'll even buy him, like the other day, I'll bring home frozen custard because I know when he gets stoned, he'll get really hungry. So I encourage it.
Yeah, it's true.
That's awesome. True. Does that still bother you at all, Helen? Or are you just kind of like, all right, he smokes, no big deal?
No, yeah. Well, at first, like David said, definitely. I mean, and because I've had like some of my unpleasant experiences when I tried a little edibles and I went like crazy in terms of I just had a big meltdown, like started crying.
Oh no.
Couldn't even walk down steps. Yeah, David was
couldn't walk down steps.
Yeah, I was just, I don't know why. It always is like not a good experience for me. So, yeah, at first, I didn't understand it, but then after knowing him and going on, 2.5 years, I completely understand and I support it as long as, it's healthy, or it's not like bad for his body or anything, which I'm sure it isn't. So that's fine.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'm a firm believer in smoking, whether you smoke or eat it or whatever. I switched from drinking. I used to drink heavily and, this coming July will be 2 years sober. And especially for athletes, it's just so much better. And you guys are both into working out and being active. So I am pro marijuana on this show.
Oh, and congratulations for the 2 years.
Oh, not cool. I mean, yeah, in July. Yeah. It's definitely never thought I would be a sober person. That's for sure. You both knew me when I was drinking.
And look, I have nothing against marijuana, and I smoked before. It's just like the edibles and stuff, and it's just edibles bad experience for me, for some reason. But yeah, I've nothing against people who like smoking weed.
Yeah, no, I remember when I first started dating my boyfriend, he was a very, very big smoker. So like wake up, smoke, after dinner, smoke. And it was just like the house was always smoky. And I'm just like, but even though I like to smoke every once in a while, it was just like something I had to get used to. And now it's like the house is filled with smoke. And I'm like, all right, just, making my way through the cloud of smoke, to the bedroom.
Yeah, I get it.
It's the time of the show that we like to play Fuck, Marry, Kill. Are you guys ready?
As ready as we can be.
Okay. This is fun because you guys are a couple, so I gave you some couples to choose from. So together you will tell me which couple you would like to fuck, which couple you would like to marry, and which couple you would like to kill. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. You have Ross and Rachel from Friends, Jim and Pam from The Office, and Gomez and Morticia Addams from The Addams Family.
Ooh. So we have to decide.
Yeah. You wanna?
Would you like to confer?
Yeah. Who do you like the least of that bunch?
The Friends people?
You want to kill the Friends people?
Or the Office people?
You tell me.
Who do you like the least?
I'm letting you decide.
I guess the Friends.
You like the least? You want to kill them?
Yeah.
She wants to kill the Friends.
Okay.
What about the Addams Family?
Fuck them?
Well, fuck the Addams Family because that's a classic.
They're probably kinky.
Yeah, we'll probably kinky, and then we'll marry The Office because I feel like they'll hold down the fort well.
Yeah, they would. All right, that's pretty good, guys. All right, let's do some fan questions to end the show. You ready?
Okay.
All right, at David Hernandez 77 wants to know, when's the wedding?
Certainly after COVID. Helen's training for the Olympic trials for 2024. I think there's no set time, no set date. We're letting nature take its course. We're in no rush for the wedding date per se, but it'll be there when it's ready.
Are you really training, Helen, for the 2024?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, It's been a lot of work. Thank you.
Wow.
It's like even this morning we trained, so I'm like dead tired. Like my body's beat up, but I love it. I love being able to, pursue like a childhood dream. And actually it was because of David. So I can't take any credit because when I quit swimming, like 13 years ago, and then I thought I would never swim again. And when I met David, he told me and encouraged me to pursue this. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh, I love that. What a sweet guy. Okay, at Andy863, who is the easiest UFC fighter to vibe with?
David can go first.
You're always making me go
Of
first.
course, David.
The ones with the best personalities, the Ben Askerins, the Kobe Covingtons, Henry Cejudo, they can't come to mind right off the bat. Oh, Kevin Holland, he's fighting this weekend. You're easy to vibe with, Ashley.
Okay, all right. And how about you, Helen?
Yeah, I agree. And also because I feel kind of bad when I pranked him with some chicken feet. Got to give a shout out to Derek Lewis.
You
And Floyd Mayweather Sr. He was awesome, and I credit him for a lot in the beginning of my career, and confirming the news to me that his son was coming out of retirement to fight Conor McGregor, which changed my life.
And last shout out too to all the UK fighters too, like Darren Till, Michael Bisping. I just feel like the people from the UK and Australia, just that side of the world, their accents, it just makes it fun.
There's just so many
Yo, I got a question, man.
It's hard to just like one and we're grateful that there's so many awesome personalities.
Yeah, I think that, you guys would have the best perspective on this, but I think that there are so many interesting and characters in mixed martial arts as opposed to other sports. But I don't know. I'm not reporting. You guys are the ones that are on the front lines talking to all the fighters. What do you think? Do you think mixed martial arts has the most characters?
Yeah, combat sports and its entirety, and you can throw boxing in there too, because all these individual sports, where as you know, you're only as good as your next fight. You don't have these team environment. Yes, you're a part of a team, but only you're locked in the cage.
Yeah.
You don't have like other team members fighting with you inside the cage like other sports, like a basketball or football or baseball. So I feel like I get along with these fighters and combat sports athletes because they just get it. They come from humble beginnings for the most part. They're not spoiled and coddled like some of those other team sports, and I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, that's a good way to see it. Helen, I think this next one's for you. It's at Fretwood Mac. If the Schmo was not an act, would Dave still have a chance?
1,000,000%. I fell in love with Dave, and he is, even though when he is himself, I do see some schmo-ness that comes out of him, definitely, which means the Schmo is definitely an extension of who he is. But I just love that he's just a truly hardworking, humble, like a very, very kind person, and someone who's a man of his word. Everything that since we met, everything he said he would do, even from something that would, like, the small things mean the most to me, like, telling me he would call me at a certain time when we were dating long distance. He always did, and I love, everything about him.
Yeah, being reliable, not just in a relationship, in work, in anything is really important. So, good job, Dave. All right, at Big Bald Bill 95. As an interracial couple, do you guys get weird reactions from people? If so, how do you handle that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I never noticed.
I think it's interesting because I haven't had that. I've never felt that way.
Me neither.
So maybe it's just hard how I was raised as well, just being around so many different types of people from all different walks of life, different backgrounds. But I personally have never felt that way. Maybe I just naturally tone it out if I would feel that way. But to this date, I've never felt that.
It's kind of a hard question, right? Because they're not saying it, so how do you know that they're looking at you and thinking that, right? I guess a better question might
Right.
be, has anyone said or made a negative or even commented at all on the fact that you guys are an interracial couple?
To date, no,
No.
which is, I guess, maybe surprising to people, but it hasn't happened yet,
Thankfully.
thankfully.
Maybe it's a good sign. There's some non-racism, out there. Things are
Yeah.
things are getting better. At 666 Eddie, why do you hate Ariel Helwani?
It's funny. I don't hate Ariel Helwani, but it's a situation where we are grinding for everything we do. We have no network support, and I'm looking to be the best in this industry. And obviously, he likes to have the title of being the best in this industry. I have no malice or hate towards anybody, and I'm not looking for handouts for anybody. But what I was just trying to do, and Phil's trying to do, is do something fun for charity, something competitive, something that's outside of just generic reporting. So I challenged him to a charity grappling match, and then he
Oh,
didn't want that. He's a big basketball fan, a big basketball player, he claims. So I challenged him to a charity basketball game. But, he's just someone who refuses to give anyone else a little bit of shine, a little bit of recognition. So
dang.
I wouldn't say I hate him, but I have fun with it because, as you know, Ashley, he's an agitator. He likes to agitate at other people on questions. And as I thought it would be fun to give him a taste of his medicine. And, I don't live by any rules. And so I did that. But I don't hate him.
Yeah,
I have no malice.
that's pretty smart of you, to be honest. I would watch the grappling for sure. Basketball, but dang. Say yes, Ariel
Well, he's
Helwani.
got Helwani box. He's got Helwani boxing. He claims so. I would do boxing if he doesn't want basketball or that. But the truth is, he doesn't want anything athletic or competitive. So
Let's
it
do
is
it.
what it is.
Let's
I've
get
accepted it.
let's get you and Ariel, and then we'll get Hans and Dominic Cruz, and we'll just do a giant charity event, right?
100%. And I think Triller would put that on too.
Okay, a few more questions. At Tay W. Starling, she's a bare knuckle boxer. We had her on as a guest. She's amazing. Do you ever get jealous of each other? And if so, how do you deal with that kind of a situation?
I'll let Helen answer that one. No, I think because we understand and support each other, just and understand what we go through. No, I mean it's just
I would say before I met Helen, my early 20s, my late teenage years, I had my crazy side, and that's like the way I approach work. I approach that to living my life and being free and that type of sexual freedom, whatever it is. I've been in work mode for the past few years and met Helen in work mode. I'm not a jealous person. I have zero jealousy. I love everything about Helen. I love who she is. I love how she looks, and I'm very happy with my situation. And I don't live life having regrets or holding jealousy towards anyone because, what's the point? Like I said earlier, like life's too short. Like, so I need those types of feelings. I don't let them get to me.
That's good. I was just thinking that, Helen, you are very beautiful, and I'm sure you get hit on by fighters or people that you're interviewing. And now that you are a duo, someone who's being interviewed and, hitting on you might not know that your boyfriend is 10 feet away. Has that ever happened?
no, thankfully, not. I'm just trying to think.
I mean, I'm sure there's fighters, and we've seen it, that stare at their chest, that think she's hot, whatever. But everyone's been very respectful, at least in front of me. I have no idea when I'm not there, and I'm sure I've been there. I've been in their shoes and all that kind of stuff before. But I've never felt anyone's ever disrespected me like that. It could easily happen any day, and there's a lot of fighters that can take me, a lot of them. So it is what it is, and we'll see if that day ever comes.
All right, last question. Andy H863, Schmo, what's the best jacket you own?
Ooh, how could I not say it's the Schmo jacket that was custom made for me about a year ago that I actually whipped out at the ViStar Arena? with no fans in the first event back last year. Was it UFC 249? It's got to be that jacket. Shout out to Team Blazers UK. They made a custom Schmo jacket and waistcoat that's got a very beautiful picture of the Schmo face on it. And they just repetitive patterns. It's purple, kind of reminds me of like something the Joker would wear in the old school Batman. So
nice.
that's got to be my favorite jacket.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. So something that I ask everyone at the end of the show, who would you guys like to hear as a guest on Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl?
Mike Perry and his girlfriend.
You know what? I slid into their DMs, but they didn't hit me back. So put a good word in for me if you see them.
We'll see him this weekend. We'll put in a good word to Mike for sure.
I can't believe he's fighting Daniel Rodriguez. D-Rod, he trains with Joe Schilling at the Yard, and that's where I was just training for my last fight at. So I am rooting for D-Rod, but still want to interview Mike Perry. So.
Yeah, D-Rod. I've watched D-Rod fight at like charity events, Smash Global, before he's in the UFC.
Yeah.
This is going to be an entertaining fight. They are both guys that aren't afraid, that are going to come forward, that would prefer to leave the fight standing. It's going to be a banger.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know who else would be a fun guest?
Who's that?
The Raw Dog King.
Oh, Darren Till, the Raw Dog guy. Yeah.
So wait, what's the Raw Dog thing?
Oh man, everything is. You got to ask him. Everything with Darren Till's hashtag Raw Dog.
Really?
Raw Dog. Darren Till. Yes, he'd be perfect for the show.
Is it the same meeting in the UK or is it a different meeting over there?
No, it's the same meaning. It's the same meaning.
All right, Darren Till. I mean, I know he's dealing with a broken collarbone right now. Maybe I can get him on while he's healing.
Slide into those DMs.
I'm going to slide in there. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, where can we find you? The Schmozone. I want, where can we, hear that? Is that on iTunes, Spotify?
Yeah, it's on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you download your podcast. It's also on the Schmo's YouTube channel for the video format of it. We put the full episodes there.
Great.
As well.
And then what about your handles for social media as well?
Yeah, follow Helen at Helen Yee Sports for Twitter, for Instagram. Helen Yee Sports is also on YouTube. That's a YouTube channel. And then for me, I'm the Schmo312 for everything social. And Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and the Schmo on YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah, all those handles and links will be in our episode notes, guys, so you don't have to remember them. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I wish you the best of luck with the podcast, with all your traveling and reporting, and most importantly, with your relationship. It's very, very hard to find someone that makes you better, not just, relationship-wise, but in life. And it seems like you guys really push each other to be better. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And thank you for having us on.
No problem. Talk to you guys soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.